point of turning just the American government from actively helping the communist conspiracy everywhere in the world, we shall have won a most important battle in the war ahead. The amount of work required to do that in the face of the way the cards have been so painstakingly stacked against us is something to contemplate. And yet there is nothing but work and more work, thinking and more thinking, dedication and more dedication, which will do the job. So now let's look at the job itself. One, first we would establish reading rooms, small and inexpensive, in just as many of the cities, towns, and villages of this country as we could, just as rapidly as we could. Two, second, since getting the truth about both recent history and current events into as many hands and heads as possible is so important, we would see that the circulation of the conservative periodicals was expanded as rapidly as it could be done without too much waste. Three, we would do everything we could to support, maintain, increase the number of stations used and widen the audiences of such radio programs as those of Fulton Lewis, Clarence Mannion, and dozens of more localized broadcasters throughout the country. Four, we would institute the organized planning and control to make full and effectively coordinated use of the powerful letter-writing weapon that lies so ready at hand. Five, we would organize fronts, little fronts, big fronts, temporary fronts, permanent fronts, all kinds of fronts. Six, another thing we should do, and one badly needed, would be to start shocking the American people, or an increasing percentage of the more literate and more intelligent who have not yet been completely brainwashed, into a realization of what is happening, into a dawning realization of how far and how completely communists and communist influence have crept right into their communities, into institutions and activities where the general public does not have the slightest suspicion of such infiltration. The best way to do this is by exposure, which is why the communists just had to get rid of McCarthy and went to such extreme lengths to do so. Seven, there are now dozens of slimy characters at loose in our midst, whom I'll call to your attention by describing one who is more or less typical. His usual name is Gordon Hall, though he also uses and has used many aliases, and we could silence him and those like him with comparative ease. Eight, we would line up a large list of speakers ourselves all over the country. Nine, ninth and current in this listing would be our undertakings on the international front. For many reasons, we would start extending our body into other countries as soon as there were energy and resources which could properly be spared for that purpose. 10. Finally, and probably most important of all these courses of action, we would put our weight into the political scales in this country just as fast and far as we could. We are at a stage, gentlemen, where the only sure political victories are achieved by non-political organizations, by organization which has a surer, more positive, and more permanent purpose than the immediate political goals that are only means to an end, by organization which has a backbone and cohesiveness and strength and definiteness of direction which are impossible for the old-style political party organization. Fantastic? Of course it's fantastic, but everything I am talking is fantastic. We are living in fantastic times and a fantastic situation. The alternative to sufficiently fantastic measures and efforts is a fate of fantastic suffering for our children and the equally fantastic loss of a whole humane civilization that has cost countless sacrifices, immeasurable labor, and an infinite number of noble dreams across centuries in the building. We are in circumstances where it is realistic to be fantastic. I was careful to bring into this group only men of sufficient intelligence and imagination to understand that paradox. And tomorrow morning, I hope to make the realism of this afternoon's hypothesis and these proposals at least as believable as is the unbelievable present power of the forces of evil arrayed against us. May you have a good dinner, a little surcease from such serious thoughts, and a good night's sleep in the meantime. Section 5, under positive leadership. This morning, in retracing our footsteps, we come first to the cancer of collectivism.